आवाज आ रही है विनीत जी? विनीत जी? हाँ, ओके ओके।
सो स्टार्ट कर लें।
यस मैम, स्टार्ट करिए।
Good afternoon, all. Today, we all have gathered here for a session on building an innovation product fit for market, which is under our activity institution Innovation Council. We are also honored today with have our Deputy Director, Sir, Abhin Bakshi, Sir, our Deans, Dr. Anshul Sharma, Sir, Dr. Anil Kumar Nigam, Sir, and Dr. Vibha Singh, Ma'am. We are also honored to have our guest, Dr. Rakesh Sasidharan. He is currently working as a Director, Product Management with Toronto Technologies, Bangalore. Sir has more than 8 years of experience working on various entrepreneurial model solving problems at scale. Now, without wasting much of the time, I would like to invite Dr. Anshul Sharma, sir, to welcome our guest. Sir, please.
Good afternoon to all. Myself, Dr. Anshul Sharma, Dean, IMT College of Management. Welcome you all in today's session conducted under the flagship of Institution Innovation Council, IMT College of Management. On topic, building an innovation or product fit for market. First of all, I convey my warm wishes to our guest, Dr. Rakesh, Director, Project Management, Toronto Technology, Bangalore. Welcome, sir, for this session.
Thank you.
In this session, as we are more focusing on the entrepreneurship development. And according to me, entrepreneurship development is a process. It is a process of identifying opportunities. These type of sessions we are conducting for our students so that they can analyze the market and catch out the various opportunities from the market so that that can be helpful for them for their future. It involves the creation of the wealth by collecting all the resources. And in this, the very important thing is generating of the new ideas. And ideas somehow, I think it's be related with the product. And sir have the same specialization. So we are very enlightened by their ideas and enriched our student regarding how an product can be developed by the various ideas. So not taking up much of time, I just be requesting sir to highlighting some things regarding this topic. Thank you, sir. Please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anshul Sharma ji, and the other, faculty members on the platform. I'm really excited and happy to be here to share my learning, which has been which I have acquired over years. So I got that opportunity to be with you all to kind of impart that knowledge or whatever learning I could acquire in the last few years. So I'll not take much of your time. I'll just present my screen. Hope it's visible to everyone. Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as sir, mentioned, so the today's session is basically building an innovation product fit for market. In entrepreneurial terms, this is something which we call or like which is generally being understood as product market fit and usually referred as PMF. And this is something which forms the core or the the main aspect of building any business, whether it is a traditional business or whether it is the tech oriented kind of businesses. All the businesses could flourish or it could grow only when they are able to address this problem related to product market fit. To give you a perspective of, so a disclaimer before I like get into the details of the session, that since we are here focusing on creating an environment wherein the students could understand about how to start a new company and what are the processes associated with it. So the references or the presentation will be in that particular aspect only. So we are trying to see it through the lens of a startup. So as you can see on the screen, various research indicates that the startup success rate is 10%. I mean, many argue that this number is like a little on the higher side. So the they say that the success rate should be like should be around 5 or 6%. But like let's take this statistics of the success rate, which is 10%. So that means 90% of the startups fail. So why a startup fail? Like if you are able to dive deeper into it, if you are able to identify the reasons. So as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, the main problem, or like the problem which has been which has got 42% response is that like there is no market need. And if you come further down, then you will be able to see that poor product 17%. Then you will be able to see product miss time. So what I'm trying to say over here is that like a large chunk of the startups fail because they are not able to identify the product market fit. So in order for a startup or a business to be successful, it is very important that the product market fit has been, or like the company has been able to cross the barrier of product market fit. Now I'll just give you an before getting into the details of what are the processes associated with, what are the things which we need to take into consideration. So this is, I mean, I'm sure like you all are aware of these companies, right? We regularly use Netflix, and I believe like most of us have all like used Uber, then Airbnb, and like youngsters, especially students, like there is like must be aware of Tinder. Like you will be able to see a lot of advertisements on various social media platforms. Now, to give you a perspective of like how that product market fit, or like like to make you understand that there is no general definition or there is no formula as such for product market fit. So if you look at Netflix journey, Netflix has been able to achieve this feat of product market fit. It took them 18 months. So like the first CEO co-founder, like what he has stated, you can read it out. It took us Netflix 18 months to finally find the repeatable, scalable business model that worked. Similarly with Uber didn't have to spend a lot of time on identifying the product market fit. They were able to find it as soon as they launched the business. So he says Uber never really had a product market fit problem, zero marketing budget. So basically they introduced the product or their services onto the market, and then people picked it up, and then they were able to grow. So what all these examples indicate is that like there is no formula, and there is no there is no time limit or time duration for you to achieve a product market fit, or like for the business to find that product market fit. So different businesses take different amount of time, but definitely we can follow a general framework so that we are able to understand what it actually means and what is the importance of this particular concept in the whole entrepreneurial journey. Now, what is product market fit? Or like we continuously hear this word like being used on different areas, but what exactly it is? So if we have to simplify it, like I have taken few definition which has been like given by some of the eminent personalities in the startup sector. So like the first one, if you see, like it says make things that people want. Now many of us will be thinking, array, like this is so simple, like it's so easy, but it's not. So it's very difficult to create something, to make a product which actually is validated, or which is the need of the people. So, like the second definition, if you see the term product market fit describes the moment when a startup finally finds a widespread set of customers that resonates with its product. So this is basically related to the later stage of a startup when the product has been accepted, and then there is like, a lot of word of mouth, and people are able to come onto the platform and able to use it, or they are able to experience the product, and then they go and tell their friends and relatives. If you look at the third definition, getting product right means finding product market fit. It does not mean launching the product. So many a time we've seen that, okay, we have launched the product and into the market, and eureka, like that's we have achieved product market fit. That is not product market fit. What it means is basically getting to the point where the market accepts your product and wants more of it. So give you an example, like you see that many companies, many services being launched into the market. Like, there are multiple products which being, introduced into the market. So I'll just give you an example. Long back, like, I don't know if many of you remember, Coca-Cola launched this, vanilla flavored Coke, right? Now it's no more available in the market. So Coca-Cola has a large, market in India as well as across the globe, right? So they might have put some thinking behind it, like introducing a vanilla flavored Coke into the market. Now they launched it, and within 6 months, like that product was withdrawn. Now, like, why do we feel? Why is the reason that Coca-Cola was not able to successfully grow the product? So, in spite of being an established company, even they face the problem of product market fit. So because no one really wanted a vanilla flavored Coke, it probably must have been a thinking of someone who is sitting at the decision making level. I'm not saying that they didn't use their brain and then they just, definitely there must have been some thinking behind it, and it must have been backed with some data. But what this example kind of help us understand is that there is no way to identify the product market fit other than launching your product into the market and getting it validated by the customer. So that is the only and the most efficient way of understanding whether your product fits the need of the people. So this is just trying to make you understand what is its importance and what is the whole process. So until and unless you have not launched the product into the market with some user base, it could be 5, 10, 15, or probably millions of users, but that user has to validate it, basically whether that is addressing any of their needs or not. So if you look at the figure which is being put over here, the question would be, when do I have true product market fit, right? So there are 3 core areas we can say. One is that you have made a product people want, like how we discussed about the Coca-Cola story. Then you can make a profit delivering this product to people at scale. Now, why this point is important? Because you can make a product and distribute in the market. Means you can say that this is for free. Now there will be many takers for that particular product, right? It is free, or you are offering it at probably 75% discount than the other alternative available in the market. Now people will latch on to it and they will start consuming your product. But can we call it as a product market fit? The day you start charging a penny to them, they will withdraw from the usage of the product, right? So it's very important that you are able to make a profit by delivering this product to the people who actually need it. Now the third point is you can find and keep people sustainably. This point is nothing but retention aspect of it. Now just take an example of any service which we use on a day-to-day basis. Now we buy milk. For example, let's say many of you I believe are from the NCR region. Now Mother Dairy is an example, right? Mother Dairy or say Amul milk. Now they have been able to consistently deliver to their customers, and the customer has been consistently buying their product on a day-to-day basis. Now that is retention. Now, if the day when consumer feel that, okay, this product is not adding value to me, or it is not addressing my needs, they will stop using that product, and then probably they will switch to another alternative which is available in the market. So these three, basically you can say it as the pillars of a product market fit. So until and unless you don't have these things sorted out, you will never be able to create a market for your product out there. I'll just pause for a moment here to take any specific questions or any clarification which any of you require about the presentation done till now. Or are we good? Shall we move ahead?
Dr. Naveen has raised his hand. Sir, you can ask your question, please.
Sure, please.
Ma'am, ask him to ask the question through chat box only.
Okay.
You take the question, and thereafter guest will answer. First, let him finish, and thereafter take the questions.
Okay. I have made presenter. Yes, Naveen sir, Rathi sir.
Sir, thank you for wonderful opportunity for getting interacted with you. So, because I have been into industry, and when industry design particular products, they do keep into mind the long-term visions, not the short-term goals. If you want to retain in the market, you have to take a long-term vision, because designing a product for a long-time need of the society, I think that is beneficial. Let me give you a very brief example of a Maruti 800. The way it has been designed, and people still today are buying it, even though so many luxury cars are available. So many other companies have also come into the same sort of products with the same price, but Maruti has retained that value. So, if I am wrong, sir, you please correct it. So, what are your views on it, sir?
Absolutely, I agree with you. So whenever you're launching a product or a business into the market, you never do it for a short term, right? You want to grow over a period of time. So definitely, that is the main objective of any business. But you will not be able to achieve that point until and unless you are not figured out your product market fit. So until and unless you are not able to identify that you are not able to identify this particular area, then people won't be coming and buying it, or they won't be sticking with you, or maybe using it on a yearly basis, or continue using it. So before the growth or the scale or those aspects of it, the main thing which has to be sorted by any business. I mean, I'm sure Maruti might have done it at the early stages. Probably they would have cracked it in 70s or 80s, and because of that, they have been able to grow over a period of time. With that, I'll move ahead. So we were discussing about what is product market fit and what is the need of it. Now, let's dive deeper into it, and we have been mentioning product. So when we say product, one thing which comes into our mind is that as Sir mentioned, Maruti car is a product, right? Now I mentioned Coca-Cola, that vanilla flavored Coke which was sold in the market, that is a product. So it's very natural that when we talk about a product, any physical product comes into our mind. But the whole framework of product market fit, it says that your solution is not the product. Your business model is the product. Now I'll explain what it actually means. Now, how you see here, there is a problem and you have a solution for it, right? So any problem which we have in our life, we definitely have a solution. So for example, in Delhi, there never used to be a metro, right? We all used to travel. So traveling was a problem. Now we used to take bus, we used to take cab, we used to probably use a motorcycle, or some of us used to drive down to our college, or to the places which we wanted to go. Now all these different these are what do you call it, services, right? Or like, so the problem is basically transportation. Now, but the product, like from a product point of view, like if you're able to come up with a solution, like you say that, okay, like, you have to travel, and I'm saying that, okay, like, I will give you lift on my bike on day-to-day basis. You are like giving a solution. Now, can you call that solution the product in terms of like, a product market fit or a business point of view? No, because everyone will be taking, every business or every entrepreneur will be taking different approaches, and they will be solving the certain aspects of a particular problem. Aspects of the problem, when I say, like, let's say transportation. Now, transportation, whether it is from point A to point B, or whether it is about last mile transportation, or is my problem, the amount of hours taken in travel, or the convenience of the travel. So now again, you are dissecting the problem into many areas. So the offering which is given by Uber is totally different from what is given by the Delhi Transport Corporation buses, right? Both are solving the problem of transportation, but the way they are solving the problem and the elements of the problem they are solving are different. Similarly, what is the value proposition? So from an Uber point of view, like, the value proposition will be like, you can sit in your home and you can book your cab, and that will come to your doorstep. You can get into it, and you don't have to make cash payments. You can make digital. You can make payments via your digital wallet or card. Now, what are the channels? What are the customer segments? So all these things form as integral part of product. So solution is not the product, but the overall approach from a business point of view, like, because we all are here to talk about entrepreneurship, right? From a business model point of view, whatever you are seeing on your screen right now, so that includes problem, that includes solution. What are the key metrics via which you are like able to evaluate the success of your model? What is the unique value proposition? What are your advantages in comparison to the other alternatives there in the market? Which is the customer segment I'm serving? Whether it is middle class, whether it is office-going population, whether it is the youth. So these are the customer segments. So every business has these areas which they have to very clearly define. Then only they will be able to come up with the product. Now, since like we have a fair understanding of what is product market fits, now what is the process towards it? So, like as I mentioned, we are going to see the whole thing from a startup point of view. So the starting point is basically you have a hunch, or you have an understanding about a particular problem, right? That could be something which you have learned on a day-to-day basis from your own experience, or probably you have read an article, or maybe like while you are conversing with some of your friends or relatives, you realize that, yeah, boss, this is a problem which even I have felt, right? And it is being felt by many like me. So the starting point, like as Sharma sir mentioned in the initial opening of the session, he mentioned that like you have to identify the opportunity. Now, what is opportunity? From an entrepreneurial point of view, identifying a problem which you could serve is the starting point. Now, like as I mentioned, there are multiple ways of arriving it, right? Something which you yourself have felt, maybe like someone told you, or maybe like you happen to read a report by Government of India which has stated about the problem which is happening. So like say take today's example, like COVID scenario, the problems which is faced by the education industry, right? There must be n number of problems which need to be solved with regard to like how we are going to take classes in the future. Now someone has identified that problem. Now they are going to come up with a solution for that. So the first stage is you identified a problem. Now you have to need to have a problem inside. So you cannot talk when you're especially on an entrepreneur journey. You cannot be doing a very qualitative kind of or a very generic kind of statement regarding a problem. Boss, this is the problem, and probably it would have been good if there is a solution to it. You have to get into the details of it. You have to come up with an insight which kind of becomes an advantage for you in the longer run. Now, what is insight? So, for example, sir mentioned about Maruti car, right? When they started, probably they realized that the Indian public are very cost conscious. Now this is the insight which basically, so it's not like there has been no car manufacturers, or like no one has tried it. Fiat has tried it in India, and they were successful to a point. And then there was Hindustan Motors, the ambassadors and all. Now the insight, probably someone from the Maruti side, they might have had is maybe the cost aspect of it. Now that you won't believe why many of the people still consider Maruti as a car over other alternatives available in the market is because the maintenance cost associated with Maruti is very less in comparison to the other car brands out there in the market. And also the resale value of the car, right? The Maruti resale value of the car is on the higher side. If you have a Ford car, and if you are 2018 model, and if you have a Maruti car which is 2018 model, trust me, you go into the market and the Ford will never get the rate which the Maruti is able to attract, because that is the kind of trust which they have been able to create in the Indian market. So Maruti was driven by this insight of probably Indian consumers are very poor, very cost oriented. So maybe we need to make a comparatively affordable cars and of sizes which is probably affordable to them, and also the material which is used. So Maruti, the body of the Maruti is not that strong in comparison to many alternatives available in the market, because the material which you use for making the body, that makes it stronger, right? So if you're cutting down on the cost of the body, then definitely you can pass it on to the consumer. But so why I'm giving you this example is basically there is a lot of insight which kind of helps Maruti to kind of create a product which is which is being loved by most of us in India. So that comes from a lot of research, lot of interaction. Now after that, you have created a minimum viable product. I mean, definitely this is something which has been used, minimum viable product. Basically that means for a solution problem, coming with a solution which has some basic set of features. Look, you cannot build something with all the features, right? So for example, let's continue with the Maruti example only. When you decided that you want to manufacture car, now the central or the core aspect of a car is basically the engine. Until and unless you have not figured it out, you will never be able to go ahead, right? And and then the basic other features associated with the seat and all. So you're coming with a model which basically is like a very minimal with basic minimum features, but this is usable by. So that is what you mean minimum viable product. So that does not require a lot of resources or a lot of investment in terms of because you want to validate it basically, right, before launching any product in the market. So it doesn't make sense for you to kind of put all the money, all the resources you have into a product, and when you launch and you identify boss in 2 months that this is not what some people want. Then you have to start from the scratch. So that's like a very wrong way of approaching the market. So that's why you have to create a very basic, simple model of your product and test it out there. Now, I'll pause here and then I'll just want to add one point. The minimum viable product is being referred. Definitely, we all have been learning about this particular terminology. I have a slight disagreement with this. The disagreement is nothing but it would be great if we can consider minimum remarkable product. So see, as I mentioned, for every solution, for every problem, there is a solution. So if you're coming with a solution, then only the user will accept it until and unless it is remarkable for her or not, right? So if you're just coming up with a solution, like as I mentioned, I say that you want to travel from point A to point B. I come up to you and say that okay, you sit on my cycle, I will drop you. Now this is for me, from my point of view, it is a minimum viable product, right? I'm like giving you a cycle ride. That is minimum viable product. But whether it is of interest to you or not, no, because the thing is that you want to reach that place probably in 5 or 10 minutes. So you have to come up with a product which has to be remarkable in the sense that it has to, garner the attention of the user. So whenever you are building something, you have to keep it in mind that it has to add significant value to the user, because the user is again putting his time and resources into using your product. Until and unless it is not remarkable enough, you will never be able to excite the user, right? Now, once you have created the minimum viable product, the next stage is like beta testing. Basically, you test it out in the market. So there are different ways of doing it. You might have heard about A/B test. A/B test is nothing but you create a cohort of users, basically. A consisting of certain type of users, B consisting of certain type of users, and you test it out. Or else you test it out like in the sense you give the product to your user. Like in the case of let's say car, you give it to them to drive. Like so, they drive and they come and they give you your their feedback. They validate it. So there are different ways of testing. So the testing, I'll get into the details of it, how you have to do it and what are the process associated with it. But I'm just like kind of opening up it with you to understand what are the different processes involved. So there you have to go through multiple iterations to arrive at that product market fit. Now, once you've done this multiple iterations via the testing, then you will reach at the stage where you are finally found a product or a solution which is which is appealing to the users, and then they using it like crazy, and they are coming back to your platform, reusing it, or maybe recommending it to other users. So this stage you have achieved product market fit. So like here you see the starting point 0 and the product market fit is the 4th stage. So for you to achieve here, there are multiple level of iterations which you have to go through. So let's say at stage number 3, you understand that the product is not that great. Then probably you have to again go back to the starting point of like that your problem, or maybe to your insight. Like what was wrong with your insight? Maybe you have to rework on that. Then again come up with a solution. Then again test it, and then find. So there is if you read a bit about product market fit, or you listen to a lot of entrepreneurs, they will say that there is no business which has found product market fit at this like they launched today and tomorrow or today itself they found product market fit. No company has ever been able to find product market fit from the moment go. So there is nothing wrong in going through a iterative process, understanding about the market, and reaching at a level you finally convince that this is like the product market fit, and and that has to come from organic growth. I mean, as I mentioned, like you can give a lot of discount, 75% discount, you can distribute it for free, and if you're saying that okay, we have achieved product market fit, wrong, totally wrong, because like you are here to run a business. You are not running a non-governmental organization or charity, right? If you are doing charity, then it's fine. Like you can distribute it for free, and people will come to you. But if you are building a business, until and unless it is not profitable, and if the customers are willing to pay a price for your services, then it is not product market fit. So once you have found it, then you can scale like exponentially. Like as Sir was mentioning, like today Maruti is like used by millions of users in India. That scale is because they have a template. They just have to repeat it. They have been repeating that template. They come in with new products and services. Definitely for the new product and services, they might be going through the same process. But overall, the structure is there, right? They have a set of customers who totally believe in them. So they grow exponentially. So now what I need all of you to focus is, like on the right hand side, there is this pre-product market fit and post-product market fit, right? So I have like simplified this graph. So you continue to have a traction, right? So you are growing probably 5 to 3% and growing. And you grow exponentially or like grow at a scale, and the curve which is there, like that is the stage where you have achieved your product market fit. That means that was the point when your product was actually solving a felt need of the consumer, and then you skyrocketed from that particular point. So this is the process of product market fit, and then how that translates into scale. The whole journey of how you identify a problem and coming to the level of the product market fit, and then scaling at an exponential rate. Now so we have been repeating product market fit. So there are two aspects of product market, right? The product. So basically, the only control you have on the whole thing is the product, right? Market, no one has any control. So in entrepreneurial world, they have this saying that market is the god. Or market is the king, because you cannot manipulate market, or some of you might say that, okay, stock market, that's not a product, or that's not something which is very entrepreneurial by nature, right? Other than that, any product, they don't have a control over the market. You only have a control over the product. So as an entrepreneur, market is important. Definitely, you need to identify what is the total addressable market of that product. Then come to what is the sectorial, the sector addressable market, like in the sense the sector which you are operating, and then again narrow it down to the area where you want to introduce your product. So definitely a reference to market is there, but you cannot control that market, right? Or you cannot manipulate that market, or you don't have a control over it. So what is as an entrepreneur, what is the only available option in front of you is basically the product, the part where you have control. Now the whole journey of entrepreneurship revolves around the product only. Now you are making the product fit for the market. It's not vice versa. You are not making the market fit for the product. You have to make the product for the market. So there you identify market, validate it, you have to make a product which is serving a particular need of the market. Now we discussed about product, market, and coming up with a solution. Now how we build a minimum viable product, or say a minimum remarkable product. So many a times, you read about it, or people talk about it. They say that you have a great idea, talk to customers, and then something happens and profit. Now the interesting thing is what is this something, right? Like if everyone, or if all the entrepreneurs are able to crack this, the questions around what did they do to earn so much revenue or profit. Now is it documented? Is there a formula? No one has it, because there is no one approach or no right approach to build a market, right? Especially when you are starting and when you are coming up with a new idea, many of you are especially experienced people, or those who have a lot of expertise in a particular area, they will say that this idea is not workable. So I just give you an example. I'm sure you all are aware of Airbnb, right? For those who don't know what is Airbnb, today Airbnb is almost, I think, 15 billion valued business in globe, and they have presence in India as well, and they have been growing like crazy in India as well. So when they started in a room basically with the idea of like, so one of the founder was traveling, and then he happened to stay in one of his acquaintance place, and then he had this idea that, okay, is there a business model around it, in the sense that, you have a house, and say there are like 3 rooms in your house, and you're only using 2, right? So one room, can I rent it out? And I don't have any cost, probably I just have to do a basic setup. So is there a model? So when he was pitching to a lot of investors, and so many of them said that this is like, a bullshit idea. This is the actual word that they use. They say that, why would a stranger come to your place and stay with you, and why would you invite a stranger to your house? So people are not very comfortable with strangers, so it does not have a market. Now I believe like it is not even 10 years, and probably like Airbnb is one of the most fastest growing business in the world right now. So when you're starting, like there are like many hypotheses which you come up with, and so some people might not agree to it, and probably some people will support you, and sometimes you believe in it, sometimes you don't believe in it. But the whole point is, until and unless you don't get into the journey, or until and unless you don't build a minimum viable product, you will never be able to understand whether this is working or not, right? So Airbnb has been able to come up with a minimum viable product. They tested it out there, and they validated it, and that because of that they have been able to build a business which is like a $1 billion industry. Now, like we mentioned, what is the step 3? Definitely, I'm not here to kind of give you a formula or a tonic to kind of get into the startup journey and crack the market. But this is something which people have shared over a period of their journey, or different books and researches which have been published. So the learning is basically from all the experiences different kind of people had in the market, right? So the step 3 is nothing but, when you are building a minimum viable product, you have to talk to your customers, develop a market thesis, like how we were explaining in the previous slide, right? What important aspect of it is that listen to their problems, not solutions. This is very important, because customers or users have this tendency, whenever they are stating their problem, they will come up with solutions. So now, what is the problem with the solution which is being stated by them is, like, most of the time, I'll not say all of the time, but most of the time these solutions are not efficient or effective. So you, as an entrepreneur or as a person who is building this business, just listen to their problems. Don't focus on the solution. And then you do the rapid prototyping and user testing. So what do you mean by rapid prototyping is, I'll explain it in the next slide. But a one-liner is basically, a very using minimum resources, minimum amount of money or whatever you call it, you build a prototype which could you could take it to the user as soon as possible. So that is rapid prototyping. Then build solution to their problem. So you have to build solution to their problem. Then test the solution with them. You don't have, it's like, it doesn't happen in silos. You are not sitting and testing the solution and you're coming up with your own thesis and insight. You have to go test the solution. Again, there are multiple ways of doing it. Then if it didn't work, then go to step 1. Step 1 of talk to customers. And like, by the time you have reached this, probably, like, I mentioned 50 times, but probably for some it might be 5 times, for some it might be 200 times. But here is like where startups fail or succeed. If you are able to crack it, you succeed. Or like say 50 times or 100 times, all your resources has been exhausted and you are not motivated anymore. You cannot continue in this journey, right? That's when you are probably not even able to launch a product. Now, as I mentioned, what is rapid prototyping? So basically, building a fully functional product is, as I said, it's a very expensive and very and it's not the right approach basically. Like say you want to build a platform for education, Now you build all the features. You have video conferencing. You can put courses on the platform. You can engage in discussions. You can do assessments. Everything. Now you put all your money, resources, and probably spend 6 months in completing the whole thing. And you launch it, and you see that like no one really coming onto the platform. Now, what is the ideal way to do is basically you say that, okay, this is a learning platform. So what is your core, what is the core solution which you're offering? Basically courses on the platform. So why don't you just focus on listing the courses on the platform so that users come and consume it and see that what is their response to it, right? So that is the right approach. So you just basically do a prototyping where you see that, okay, X, Y, Z courses are listed, that's it. They come, they consume it, and then the future associated with that, like, probably they will be able to see what is the duration of that course and all those. So basic element of that, just to evaluate whether they're actually coming onto a platform. And at this stage, don't worry about scaling. Don't worry about monetization. If you're able to crack product market fit, monetization will come later. Just give a perspective, many of the successful brands out there in the market, they are not profitable even at this stage. So like many of you might be ordering from Swiggy, Zomato, right? They're still not profitable. So basically, their expense is more than the revenue which they are creating out of. But they have been able to scale. They are growing like probably 7 or 8% year-on basis, right? They have been able to scale. So building a big business or business if you want to build a profitable business, definitely you need to have a revenue plan. But when you're building it, when you're like in the initial stages, don't think about profit. Don't think about scaling, just focus on how I can create a product which is appealing to the user. That should be the sole focus, because if you drift from that focus, you will not be able to come up with an amazing product which is usable by the user, right? And as I said, it will require n number of iterations. And so probably you have to go back to the whole process multiple times. So, and it's a very tiring thing. I myself have done a startup, and tell you like it's really tiring, because you have a small team and then you are doing most of the things, and you're testing it out again, coming back and doing the whole process. It's a very tiring process. So keep your burn as low as possible, and always identify a smart team. People who can, do multiple things. Don't focus on creating a large team. Focus on building a small team and people who can do multiple tasks, who are smart, highly skilled, just utilize. And some of the key points you have to do is like start at the simplest level. As I said, for that example of just if you want to focus on course building, just focus on course. Then review a prototype with your future users. Then repeat the process. So these form the aspect of rapid prototyping. Now we discussed about testing the solution with customers. Now what are the different ways of doing that? So when you're talking to your target customer, basically you have to see whether you are targeting your right customer, right? So I'll just go back to the Uber example. So when Uber is launching and if they are going and talking to people who are using bus, right? That is not your target customer. So they might be giving you a lot of insights. Like the people who are traveling in bus, they might say that, okay, yeah, ye bhi hona chahiye, wo bhi hona chahiye. But they are not your target customer. They will never come going to use your Uber car, right? These are the people who are going to office, maybe youngsters, those who are like, middle class or upper middle class, who can afford probably 150, 200 rupees for a ride. These are your target customers. So when you're talking to your customer, just don't randomly talk to customers. Talk to your target customer. So when you're defining your problem and solution, you have to define it in a way that you are very clear about target customer. So many times what happens is like, we misunderstand your target customer, right? So to give you an example, that when we did our food tech startup, basically, so we thought that everyone is those people who are doing online ordering, they are our target customer, and we were considering each and everyone ordering. But over a period of time, 3 or 4 months down the line, we realized that people who are health conscious, people who are going to office, people who are working at probably managerial level and above, they are our target customer. So there is no point talking to a large set of customers. So it's basically very important that you talk to your target customers and be open to changing your views on who they are, like how we change, right? We thought like initially everyone needs it, but then we realized it is data specific, right? So when you have the data, you validate it and you understand, okay, this is my task. And don't overthink. Don't overthink about your problems or solutions. And like it's good to have anecdotal, recording anecdotal experience, but don't try to complicate, by bringing a lot of analysis. Treat simple problem, simple solution at the starting level. Just focus on that. So some of the most helpful ways by which you can do is like, when you are like have a basic rapid prototype is like, customer interviews, like, you can even do with 5 or 10. UX testing basically like this is when if you have an app, you have a website, or let's say you have introduced a product like a physical product. If I have to say like, say you have, you are making bags, right? You give the like shopping bag basically. You give that shopping bag to people who are going to, vegetable vendors, give it and this kind of, give it to them to test it. And on the other side, if it is an app or website, you ask the user to use it, and it is always good to ask the user to use it in front of you, and never help them. Just see them struggle with, the features or problems which they are having, and then you make a note of it, and then probably like, rework on your offering and rework on the features which you have given on the platform. And metrics, basically, whenever you are doing, you have to define your metrics, how you are going to evaluate it, right? So for every business, metrics is important. So even at a very initial level, launch level, you need to understand. So what is metrics is nothing but basically what are the number of consumers who have used my service, what is my retention rate, what is the, whether the user is coming back to on my platform or not, whether like say in the stage of in the case of the education technology product which we are mentioning, whether consumer is completing the course or not, or like, they opened the course and like, after 5 minutes they closed it and they never came back, right? So these are the metrics which make you understand that whether your offering is in line with the need of the customer. So there could be multiple metrics. Now, what is the right metric? Definitely that is something which you have to come up with. Definitely some of the basic metrics will be like whether the customer is coming back, whether the customer is bringing in more customers, like, I telling my friends and they are coming. So these are some of the things, but like it's very business specific. You have to come up with your own metrics to understand, or like to understand whether the solution which you have provided to the customers or to the user, the initial user, is actually moving towards product market fit or not. Now, once you have, over this process, you are able to identify product market fit. The next big question is when to launch, right? So, so there are multiple theories and there are multiple ways of explaining when to launch. Some people say when the market is right, or when they say when you don't have competitors. Some say when you should launch as soon as possible. But I will put it in this. This is something which I really believe in. Launch when your product is better than what's out there. So this is again, this point is related to what we were discussing, right? The remarkable product. So if you are able to provide a solution which is better than the solution they have with them, then that's the right time to launch, because then they have found value in what you have introduced. They will be able to come and use it, and they will be your super users. They will convert into your super users. Now we discussed like achieving product market fit, launching, and all those things. So now, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, how do I know that if this is working or not, whether I have achieved product market fit? So again, this is something from lot of learning, lot of experience of the startups or businesses which is being built out there. So say that like you can always see when product market fit isn't happening. The customers aren't quite getting value of the product. Word of mouth isn't spreading. Usage isn't growing that fast. Reviews are bad. People are rating 1 out of 5 on the App Store, or maybe they on your website they are like giving bad reviews for your sales cycles take too long. What it means is basically maybe this week you sold, 5, and probably for you to sell the next 5, maybe it took you 2 weeks, right? So that kind of it is not consistent, or basically the growth, the graph is not like in the upward direction. And from a founder point of view, maybe you are interacting with lot of investors, they are not showing interest, and none of them is like really happy about the metrics you are showing to them. Now, how do we know that we have achieved product market fit? So like these are the feelers basically. The customer bar buying the product just as fast as you can make it. So basically, you are making it the product, and then it's just like vanishing from the rack. Like this, I'm talking about a what do you call it? A physical product. Say like the Coca-Cola example. Maybe like if every retailer who has kept that on their shelf, and probably it got it kind of sold out maybe within 2 days, or like maybe 15 days, or like on continuously, like it is happening that way. Maybe they would have like achieved product, but maybe that is very slow. Then that indicates that the product is not that great. Usage is growing as fast as you can add more servers. Money from customers is piling up. People are ready to pay for your product. Your team is growing. There is media coverage. Probably people are taking a lot of interest. So these are some of the indicators, like which kind of help us understand that okay, we have achieved product market fit. And these examples you will see like it's common among all the startups which have succeeded or failed. Now, as I mentioned, how to measure. So this is like from a this is like what you are understanding, right? Definitely some of these are data driven, but can we measure product market fit? Absolutely. So there are multiple ways of doing it. So you can do it quantitatively, you can do it qualitatively. So I mean, I mentioned some of the points like some of the users you have rejected, they're coming and trying yours. User testing, then user demonstrate an understanding of your product's differentiator to unique value proposition. And then the retention rate of the user, so all those things. Now, how do you measure? Basically, there are multiple ways. One commonly used method is Net Promoter Score. So the first one you see on the screen, NPS. I will simplify it for you. Basically, on a scale of 1 to 10, you go and ask your users on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely are you to recommend this particular product or service to your friends and relatives, or people whom you know? Now, you collect the data from all these people, and then you have to see what is the percentage of people who have rated 9 and 10 out of 10, who have rated 9 and 10, and what is that percentage of people who have rated 1 to 5. 1 to 6, you have to avoid 7 and 8. Okay, 7 and 8 is of no importance. So, say for example, 88% of the people have rated 9 and 10, and 8% of the people have rated 1 to 6. Now, 88 minus 8, 80 is your Net Promoter Score. I'll repeat. So you have done a survey of how likely are you to recommend this product to your friends and relatives. Now you went and taken this survey, and you come up with different data, and you see that okay, 88% of the people have said that they would 9 or 10 rated, and the 1 to 6 basically is 8%. So the difference between these two is your Net Promoter Score. So they say that the Net Promoter Score has to be above 40, but from when you're starting, basically when you're starting up, the Net Promoter Score has to be above 50. But for a normal businesses which is established, they say that it should be above 40. So what we arrived at 80, so the minimum score which has to be considered is 80. Now what is churn rate is basically how many new customers you are able to acquire like so the total number of customers you are acquired and the total number of customers which has dropped out. So say this week I have acquired 100 customers, but say 70 customers have dropped out. So the 70 upon 100, so that is my churn rate. So that means it is not great. So for every 100 addition I am making, 70 people are dropping out. Now growth rate, like as I said, whether I'm growing 5%, 10% in terms of my consumers as well as my revenue and market share. Like say there are say it is a 10 million market. What is your market share with regard to that market, and how your revenue is in comparison to that? Now, what are the different qualitative aspects of it? Like as I said, word of mouth. So they say that the amount of customer acquisition which can happen over word of mouth beats your advertisement. You can spend crores and crores of rupees on advertisement and all, but जो word of mouth से आपको customers आते हैं वो उसके सामने कुछ नहीं है. अगर आपने कोई great product बनाया है, definitely word of mouth होगा. Now big example is WhatsApp. WhatsApp का कितना advertisement हम लोगों ने देखा होगा, right? We have not seen a lot of examples of WhatsApp advertising. That is because whoever has used WhatsApp has recommended it to others. Similarly, Facebook or similarly any other product which you can think of, जो आपने use किया है and you have recommended. I have tried this product and it's really great. You should also try it. Word of mouth, media coverage, industry analysis. People who are in this particular industry have taken a notice of it, and then again you being given that importance in that industry. So these are some of the ways which could qualitative and quantitative ways through which you can measure product market fit. Now we have achieved product market fit. What is beyond product market fit? As I explained in the initial stage, product market fit ऐसा नहीं है कि you have achieved and then भूल जाओ and then you sit at home and then your business is in autopilot mode. No, product market fit is a continuous phenomena, and for the journey ahead also you have to keep your framework has to be in sync with the other journey which of your business. So with you seek acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, referral. These are the main stages of a customer journey. So acquisition is basically when I'm coming onto the platform for the first time and using it for the first time, or signing up for your services. That is acquisition. Basically, you have acquired me as a customer, and then activated. When I start using the services and the customers have reached the aha moment. Revenue, for any business without revenue, as I said, if it's a non-governmental organization, for them also revenue matter, but that is again a funding, so unka revenue thoda sa different hota hai, but yahan pe revenue is very important. Until unless you don't have revenue, a business won't survive, right? So you need to make profit. So how much profit you make is your call, but again you have to take into consideration cost and all. But revenue is the core of the business, right? So customers paying for your product is an important thing. So so this is beyond product market fit. So you have to figure out how I am going to make the consumer pay for the services in a way that it doesn't feel like a pain to them. For a 50 rupee service, you cannot charge 500 rupees, right? Customer will evaluate in terms of value. I am paying 50 rupees, so the value which I am getting is equivalent to 50. Now there are some luxury products, so वो थोड़ा सा अलग ही चीज हो जाता है. Like you are buying a what do you call it? Armani Exchange ka bag. Now the bag is for 80,000, and you get also a bag for 80 rupees, right? Now uska customer set alag hai, iska customer set alag hai. Now from the customer which you are addressing, you have to see what is going to be a revenue which is what is going to be a revenue model which is not going to hurt the customer. The paying capacity of the customer has to be taken into consideration. Now retention, this is something which is very difficult. Now how will you retain the customer which is here on the platform? I've given you example of Amul and Mother Dairy, right? Now Amul has been
Rakesh sir, conclude.
Okay. I just one more slide that after that, so probably it will take 5 more minutes only. So yeah, so we just almost like, there. So the next one is retention and then the referral. Basically retention, as I said, Amul is able to retain their customers for long, right? So you have to provide services or value to the customer on a day-to-day basis. Now, what are some of the myths about product market fit? As I said, product market fit is always a discrete, it's a big bang, and even people feel that it happens and it's big bang. It's not that. It's patently obvious when you have product market fit. No, once you achieve product market fit, you can't lose it. Again, this is a myth. Once you have product market fit, you don't have to set the competition. So these all product market fit myths which is there, like, probably you should not consider. And so to give you a recap of, it's basically about the essence between your customer needs and your value which you are offering to them. Then you are sketching your assumptions of the paper, you're validating your assumptions with the help of users by making a minimum viable product. And when you see your business model canvas is like, all okay, good, then you don't have to validate it anymore. At that point, you have reached product market fit, and you can use it for the next phase of growth. So these are some of the materials which you can, for an introduction, these are some of the greatest available resources on product market fit you can refer. So yeah, with this I'll end the session, and I'll be happy to take questions or suggestions or any concern you have. I'll be happy to address.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening our students and faculty members. Now, I would like to take some of the questions which our participants, they have posted in the chat box. There's a question by Dr. Mohit Arya. He's asking that how important is the role of PMF at this time of lockdown for the companies?
So to make it specific, when you're starting a company, like whether it is locked down, whether it is not locked down, how bad is the market, how good is the market, all these things doesn't matter, right? Because you have to build a product for the market. So definitely, there are certain products probably consumers are not willing to pay at the time of this, COVID. But again, you have to see that you're building it in a way that they are ready to pay. Now, many of the online solutions which you see, Zoom, and it all existed, right? But they made it available to the users, and then they have a model out through which they are making money. So similarly, agri products, they are being able to operate off because, so there are many agri tech which is coming in this field. So they have been able to do, and you won't believe the number of companies which has emerged during this COVID time is like exponential, because you can leverage technology to build something, right? You can sit at your home and be able to order it, or you will be able to address that particular need. So basically, it's about coming with a model which is addressing the need of the market. Yeah.
So we have another question by Mr. Satish. He is asking that how do you determine market fit for a product?
I think that's what we explained through the whole presentation. That market fit is basically you're making the product fit for the market, right? So whatever we discussed right now, from identification of the problem to come up with a solution, and then testing it out, validating it, and then scaling it up. So this is so there are multiple ways of doing it, but the framework remains the same. This is the only way you can find a fit for the market.
Yes, sir. So then we have a question by Ms. Priyanka Malhotra. She is asking that please differentiate between a prototype and MVP.
Minimum viable product is basically the offerings which you are giving as part of your product, right? And prototype is the whole. So if I have to give you an example, so you basically coming up with the example of listing courses on the platform, right? So the minimum viable product in this case would be the place where customers or the users can come and take the course. The course is the minimum viable product. Now, prototype, what it entails is basically you create a whole flow of that. So where the customer coming on the platform, signing up using their email address and password, and then creating an account, giving what you call it, basic details of it. They coming and then taking the course, finishing it, taking up the assessment. You have to create a flow for that. Now for that flow, you create a prototype. So one is the product which you are offering, that is a minimum viable product, and the workflow related type, it is basically the prototype in terms of a tech product. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, one last question. Mr. Satish has again asked that is there any common misconception about product market fit?
Yes, some of the myths which I explained to you, these are the main myths. So people say that once you have, and I think the most famous one is like once you have achieved product market fit, then there is no stopping. Then you can do whatever you want and you will continue to grow. No, you have to continuously innovate and continuously do research and identify needs, and then according to that, you have to keep introducing products. So there are many myths. The other one is that initially if you have found product market fit and then later you don't need to. So many times what happens is people do a lot of promotional activities like 50%, 60% discount, right? A lot of consumers are coming. And they see that, okay, boss, we have achieved product market fit. That's wrong. Like as I mentioned, it has to be validated with, your pricing model or revenue model. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the questions by our participants. Now I would like to invite Dr. Vibha Singh ma'am for the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. I, Dr. Vibha Singh, Dean Commerce, Department of IMT College of Management. Thank you very much, sir. Rakesh, sir, you have shared your expertise in very detail for our students and faculty. Really, I'm very thankful for making slides and putting much energy and content in such a small time. I'm very thankful to all the patrons of this IIC, Dr. Anshul Sharma, Dr. Abhinav Bakshiji, I myself, and the chairman of IIC, Dr. Anil Nigamji. Vineet sir has given much time and effort in conducting this seminar, and I'm very thankful to all the IT team and who organized this session. Once again, my heartiest thanks to Mr. Rakesh Sashidharanji, who spared his precious time from his busy schedule and made this event successful by sharing his, again, I'll use the same word, your expertise. Really, you are very expert in your field as you're the Director of Product Management, and we felt in this session. And we have got a very great knowledge for a startup. I wish my students must have learned something from you and they must implement it in their life. Thank you very much, sir. I wish कि आप सब कुछ ठीक हो जाए तो हम लोग कैंपस में मिलते हैं.
Sure, ma'am.
That
sure.
is our
Happy.
desire. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rakesh sir. Thank you, Rakesh sir. आप आए.
Thank you. I'm like really happy that whatever I know, I have been able to discuss with you all. Definitely, it's a very vast topic, deep, vast area. So if you have any doubt, if you want any help in this regard, please feel free to reach out to me. My email ID you can take from Vinith. Yeah, I mean it was really good. Back to school kind of thing. It's been years since I left university life. So it was good, to be in this, to be with you all. So yeah, I'm glad that
It was great for us also. Once we come in a working field and then we go back, so really it's very good feeling. But it was really very good for us and for our students. Thank you very much.
And thank you to Vineet especially for inviting me. So yeah.
That has worked very hard for you.
Thank
You
you.
accepted
Thank you,
his
Rakesh sir.
invitation for us. It is great for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.